are we with this?
Well, we did. You know, we put a lot of enforcement action into that when it happened before, and I think you're correct. We kind of seen it go away, and then we had this weekend, which appears to be a very organized and coordinated event. We have our uniform patrol commander who has been monitoring those activities and can tell you about our response to this weekend events. It's unfortunately that we have a group of individuals who think this is a game, who are doing things like that for social media to get likes and for popularity on social media. Let me be clear. The last time this event happened, we investigated, and if you recall, we didn't stop our investigation on the date of. In fact, we arrested many individuals weeks, months later because our investigative efforts did not stop. And the same is the case in this incident, in these incidents. We will continue working our investigations in coordination with the sheriff's office. A lot of those locations that were highlighted were not in the city limits because they were going from spot to spot to spot to spot. But we will investigate that in coordination with them. But I'm going to ask our uniform commander, Captain Clara, to come in to talk about BRPD's response to these events this weekend.
Captain William Clarity, Uniform Patrol Commander. This weekend, in regards to summary of the events, we first and foremost, this was the first organized effort that we had encountered with the street racers as far as to the extent that it occurred since August. And that was when the ordinance changed within the city limits, which stiffened the penalties for the drag racing. To give you an idea, on that particular night, Saturday night into Sunday morning, we had a total of 11 calls for service that the city police responded to. Some of those did border areas that were outside of the city. One particular incident over off of North Mall, we ended up where an extra duty officer observed activity occurring. He called it in. We had a coordinated effort of officers and what was available to go and attempt to contact those subjects. At that time, one of them fled and they ended up driving over to Highland Road. So we did end up we were everywhere and they were everywhere as well. And that's what the chief referenced when he talked about the organized effort. I mean, we had whatever resources we had, we were deploying as quickly as we could. Most of those incidents that were called in, we responded in less than 5 minutes. As far as the drag racing events, we never stopped monitoring them, but you know, like anything else, you have to kind of change and try to determine how they're communicating and what they're putting out, which in this case, we didn't have anything come up on the radar, but that's okay. We'll make the changes and we'll continue doing what we're doing. Questions particularly on that?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
When we talk about our enforcement acts, when we started the task force in January, we've cited about 15 individuals with drag racing statute, and those vehicles were impounded. We've told, just in our task force, about 245 vehicles this year, and we've written over 1,800 citations. That's just the task force. That's not the police department as a whole. And those are the task forces that started with the drag racing, and as it went away, we believe that our efforts may have pushed them out to other areas of the state. All of the individuals involved in this are not from the city of Baton Rouge, and we transitioned those officers into some of our hotspot policing efforts that we've been deploying assets to over the past half of this year. So that task force, that's the data that came as a result of those enforcement